Hello everyone, welcome back to Tinateach HTML. For our next lesson after computer codes is forms, alright? Since forms is a little bit complex and it has more functionalities, usage and attributes and all that stuff, I'm going to divide it into two parts, alright? And this is part one where we'll explore the definition, the usage, as well as the tags, like form and input, alright? So, what is form? Specifically, what do we need it for and what can it do for us? So, an HTML form, it specializes in collecting user input. The input is then sent from the form to the server for processing, and once processed, you can use that result to adjust the display to the user, okay? And so it's from form to the server and then back to the website once again. And the server that you uses to process this is written in different languages, okay? Like PHP, for example. PHP is a very popular one, despite it being quite old and, sometimes it's made fun of, but it is very prominent when it comes to website server processing. Here I have an example of a form. Okay, I have form and then I have an action. This action is the endpoint to which you send the user input to. So for example, it's like action page.php. Okay, next up you have a label. Now we'll go into more depth with all of its attributes, its quirks and whatnot. On the second lesson, the part 2 of form. For now, this is very self-explanatory. Label is a label. It gives you a pre-formatted label for whatever text field or input field that you're going to give to your user. So for this label, we assigned it first name for its for attribute, and it displays first name. Okay, after the label, we have input type. Now obviously you can adjust the label, you can use like different elements that are not labeled, but that's quite inconvenient to do so because you have to assign it custom CSS styling, right? And now for the input, type of the input is a text, so it's a text field. You have the ID, right, to reference it, for specialized processing, and then you have the name, first name, and value. Now this value is what's going to be displayed before the user types in, okay? So like you can put anything on it. You can put like example, like for given input so the user know, oh, so this is what is expected of me. This is the sort of input that I should give, all right? And it's not mandatory, but it really does help with elevating your website and user comprehension. Next up, let's look at the form tag. A form tag creates an HTML form. It's basically a container for things like tags, checkboxes, submit buttons, radio buttons, whatever you want, okay? So it's the big mama, it's the parent. And whatever you put in there, right, are form elements. Very much like the script tag. If you remember in our JavaScript lesson, you have the script tag, you open and close, and in between you have whatever you want in terms of JavaScript. And that's how you put JavaScript inside of an HTML file. But if you want to put the JavaScript on a separate file, you don't need the script tag at all. Next up with input is one of the most common form element. It can be portrayed in a variety of ways depending on its type. Of course, you have numbers, you have maybe Boolean, you have multiple choices, you have text fields, all of that. And it is an empty tag, so you do not need to close it. You just have input, you put all the attributes, and that's it. Next up, we're gonna take a brief look at the different types of inputs that are readily available for us. So we have text, right, for a text field. We have radio for radio buttons. I'll dive more into, how you can make this happen in your website and the different attributes that come with these things. Next up, we have checkboxes, right? And we have the submit button to send to the server. And then we just have a button. Now, let's take a brief look at one of the input types so we can sort of gauge our expectations for the other input types that we've seen. And I'm talking about text field, okay? This is a single line input field for user to type in their answers, and it's very self-explanatory. It's just a text field for user to put in their text. And here are the example codes. Now, obviously, it's not the whole thing, but it's just for demonstration purposes, just to show you what it's all about. First, I have label. You're always going to have label, otherwise the user won't know what the text field's for. First up, we have label. You're always going to have label, otherwise the user won't know what to go for, what should they type in there. And you have for, once again, we meet it, favorite color example, and I have favorite color over here. I close the label because it's not, it's not empty. And you do need to put a line break, otherwise the label is going to be on the same line. So if that's your thing, you can just omit the line break. And next up is the input type is text. Then you have the ID, and the name is favorite color. Okay, the value is red, ... It's, so I have, for example, I have the label up here, type in something, and then I have the text field, single line. And before the user types in, I'm just going to put like red ... Okay? Now that's it for the HTML forms part 1. I do hope that you learned something and that it was very easy to understand. We're going to go more in depth and have a demonstration of this on part 2, because to have good demonstration, you gotta go with you gotta have like a good understanding of the different types of input that I've shown. But this one is just a simple introduction, so you know what to expect when we do have our experiments and our example codes. All right, don't forget to like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow. Goodbye.